So we're here today talking with Jason Aaron Wood. He is a guitar teacher with a profile on findaguitarteacher.com. Jason, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey Dan, thank you.
So please, let's get started by finding out where you teach. What part of the country are you in, and what areas do you teach in?
I'm located in Washington D.C. area. I'm in Greenbelt, Maryland. So I teach from my home, but I also teach on Skype. So I have a lot of students in this area who come here. I actually teach classes in my living room,
Okay,
but I also have students in Austria, California, Georgia, New York, all over the place.
that's great. That's wonderful. And do you find you teach more adults, or do you teach younger students, or is it a pretty even mix?
Actually, I teach 14 and up
Mm-hmm.
because my teaching is very geared toward creative professional musicians or people that really want to really push themselves,
Yes.
not so much just kind of like a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
So it tends to be, that really insane drive starts to kick in the mid-teens. So, I
Yes.
mean, roughly 14 and up. So yeah, basically, pretty much everybody is in their 20s and above
Of
among
course.
my students right now.
Sure. And do you find that you get a particular style of music that people are looking for, one more than another?
Yeah, I really do kind of market myself as like the metal and shred teacher.
Yes.
I mean, my website is shredmentor.com.
Got it.
Because growing up in the 90s, as a,
Hmm.
metal was kind of my first passion. I
Yes.
branched off into blues and a lot of classical stuff too. But in the 90s, there was like no metal teacher,
Mm.
and throughout the 2000s, there weren't really many either. Thanks to the internet, there was a little bit, but
Yes.
I kind of decided to be that metal teacher, to really
Got it.
help people that kind of have that, that they very specifically know what they want to do, but don't want to really have to settle for something that's not that.
Of course. Of course. And you mentioned classical and blues. Are there any other styles that you offer, or do you just really purely stick with metal and shred kind of style?
Pretty much anything rock related. I
Okay.
mean, like I was born in '79, so I mean, like I was brought up on '80s rock, so anything from like Brian Adams to
Hmm.
Slayer, everything in between, really. I mean, I like some pop, like Cyndi Lauper. I mean, like all the stuff from
Sure.
my childhood. I mean, everything really. So, I mean, if it has a guitar in it and it's based on rock, then it's pretty much open game. And the
Of
blues is
course.
just the uncle of rock. So, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
they're so related. So, pretty much anything in that vein, really. I
Got it.
teach what the student wants to learn.
Yes. Okay.
Not so
Tell us
not I
more
don't.
about that. Tell us about how you teach.
Yeah, basically, I mean, I've been about 11 years ago for me, I started to kind of reach that point where I had hit a wall
Hmm.
myself.
Hmm.
And that's kind of stayed fresh in my mind about how frustrating it can get when you're not playing the way you want to play.
Yes.
So I've started to really break down what works and what doesn't. And for me, I've kind of come to the point where I view my role as a teacher as more like a personal trainer in a gym rather than a person conveying information, because
Hmm.
you can get to the point as a guitar player where you know about all the different stuff, you know all the knowledge, but it doesn't reflect in your guitar playing. So there are hard hitting activities and then there are time wasting activities, and there's a broad spectrum, so there's a lot of stuff in between. But I focus a lot on activities because it's really more about getting good is about doing stuff, not so much about learning stuff. You'll learn stuff anyway, but
Yes.
you're gonna get better by doing certain things a certain way for a certain period of time consistently, rather than like the way most people practice is just wander a little bit between the things that they already know, which just strengthens what's usually a very small comfort zone,
Mm.
rather than push the boundaries of that comfort zone outward,
Got it.
so that you can comfortably do anything and confidently. So
Sure.
I really, I kind of, like I said, it's like I'm more like a personal trainer for guitar.
Sure.
So you can go in and fend for yourself in the gym and hope you're doing it right, hope you're
Hmm.
doing, not missing anything, or you can get somebody to help you, like, no, do this, do this. What are you trying to do first of all?
Sure. Of
Okay,
course.
then you do this, because you don't just do the same thing no matter what your goal is. You kind of have to cater it to specific goals.
Of
So,
course.
um,
Jason, can you tell us a little bit? Sorry to cut you off there. I just want to kind of get to everything that we want to tell people about. Can you tell us a little bit about your equipment? I noticed you got a couple guitars there.
yeah, I've been favoring LTD guitars lately.
Okay.
I played, started, let's see, way back in the back there. I started with these Washburns that are
Hmm.
kind of rare models that have like 36 and 29 frets.
Okay.
They were only made for a couple years, so I kind of got spoiled on the upper range,
Mm.
and just a certain feel for the guitars. I kind of moved into 8-string territory 2 years ago, and
Okay.
LTD once again kind of saved the day. So
Mm.
in general, I kind of just play them all the time. I have a carbon 7-string. I love that too.
Sure.
But one of the other things, a main piece in the arsenal, you might be able to not sure if you can see it on there, but I have a Line 6 Variax acoustic, which is just an acoustic guitar modeler.
Okay.
Essentially, it's an electric guitar, but it models the sound of a lot of different acoustic sounds. So even though I do a lot of metal, my first solo CD was just purely acoustic. So
Got it.
it's very flamenco and classical oriented type stuff. So.
And do you offer your students guidance about purchasing their own equipment?
Yeah, I definitely include things that go beyond the scales, chords, and stuff you do on the guitar. So that, I mean, including songwriting. A lot of my training is actually geared toward creative musicians. So in my songwriting package, we'll get into that a little bit later. But I mean, I offer a huge discount when they also add the songwriting package, because I really want to see my students go as far with their music as possible, not just learn scales and chords that they could get for free off the internet.
That's great. And so, but in terms of equipment, what I was asking is, do you offer your students guidance about purchasing their own equipment?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do that too. Usually it's more on a person, one case by case kind of basis.
Sure.
Depending on what kind of style they want, what kind of sound they're trying to go for. So I mean, basically,
okay,
it kind of depends on what their budget is and how soon they're trying to get it, what kind of the most bang for their buck and stuff like that.
Absolutely. And can we hear you play a little something? I'd love to hear an example of your playing.
Sure, yeah. I'm going to kind of go in a sort of rock style here.
Sure.
A little bit of shred in there, too.
Yes. All right, cool.
Is that enough?
Yeah, that was great. Definitely gives a sense of the kind of style that you're into. That's cool. You did like a real high tap there.
Yeah, I like to.
That's an interesting technique.
Yeah, I kind of use this hand as just an extension of the fretting hand.
Yeah,
so
sure.
when you run out of fingers, you got at least. I don't like to let go of the pick, so I guess if I slid it down my hand, I could probably use 4 more. I like to keep the pick ready to go, like that. So I kind of have 3 I can work with.
Makes sense. Sure. So tell us about how you set up your lessons. In terms of like what you charge and how often do you work with people, that kind of thing.
I have a lot of different programs because, like I said, everything that I view it more about the activities, more hard-hitting activities rather than learning stuff. So I actually have a lot of different programs right now. I mean, I have had many more than I have active right now, but right now I have 3 main programs that most of my students are in outside of private lessons.
Yes.
2 of them are soloing based. One is just the art of soloing, which is general soloing. Another is blues and classic rock soloing for a more style specific approach. And rock and metal songwriting, which is actually kind of packaged together with both of those others.
Got it.
Each one has its own price. There's actually quite a range for my rates depending on the involvement and how much you end up getting. But almost everything is available in kind of a package rate, so that there are discounts, because I want people to be able to afford my lessons.
Yeah.
But there's a range like between about $95 a month, which would be about the lowest, up to like $400 a month. So I mean, it's a huge range, and it really depends more on what the specific solution to the problem is.
Yeah.
So I actually get into all the prices in the free introductory lesson that I offer.
Got it.
Because as a teacher, you get to know the student and their needs more and more over time as you work with them. That's inevitable, but I don't really like charging people right off the bat before I really actually know how to help them properly. So
understood.
So the first hour's on me, because I really want to make sure that we're actually doing the right thing, because otherwise they're just going to be spinning their wheels. So I don't really want to do that to anybody.
Well, Jason, it's been great to hear about your teaching, and it's clear to me that you put a lot of thought into what you do, and people who are looking for that specific thing that you offer are very lucky to find you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So thank you again for doing this interview, and we look forward to seeing you on Find a Guitar Teacher in the future.
Thanks a lot, Dan.